speaking of evolving, we've seen several, a variety of network operators moving into the CDN space in one form or another. When do you think a network operator or a data center operator or any other infrastructure operator should build some or all of its own CDN infrastructure, and when should it not? When does it make sense?
So from our perspective, we're huge fans of outsourcing. So do what you do best and stick to it. And the challenge for most telecom companies are that they do get a little too diversified, and then when it comes back to their core products, it's challenging from a consumer perspective and even as a data center consumer to buy their services. So we're big fans of segmenting the market and let the people that do it best do it. But at scale, it starts to make sense. The money talks, and some finance person sees that there's an opportunity, and they go after it. So from a technical perspective, or from a finance perspective, it probably is going to make a different amount of sense than it would from a service delivery perspective.
We're one of the telecom operators that have recently entered the CDN space, and I think it's interesting to look back a couple of years when cloud and infrastructure as a service started becoming topics in the telecom space, and then kind of the conversation that seemed to be in vogue at the time was, telecoms will rule the cloud as a service space because they have no underlying infrastructure, and they'll have a better economic advantage. And what we're seeing, 2 to 3 years later, is that Amazon has such a huge lead in terms of what they're able to offer. Is that it really is a challenge for a network operator to look at being in the cloud space. But at the time when the thinking started, there was no question about it. I think CDN is a similar situation in the sense that CDN is essentially a cloud delivered service. So it's a variant of infrastructure as a service. And I think the challenge is you look at the companies that are already in the space, companies like Akamai, companies like Level 3, Limelight, they are very far out and ahead to where, a lot of the basic challenges that customers want solved have already been solved, and they're solved very well. So then the question becomes, where are you going and what are you doing? And for us, it basically boils down to CDN is a building block to be able to provide a better service for the services that we're already providing. But it also opens us into new relationships with customers that aren't going to buy a 10 gig wave or a 100 gig wave. They're going to buy something that's more oriented towards a solution. And those are the kinds of conversations that we believe are going to form the basis of the next set of demands for Hibernia's services and Hibernia's network. So it is a challenge. There's no question about it. All of the entrenched parties already have a pretty far lead, but it's to look at the next 3 to 5 years and say, yeah, well, we can do this without, solely on a wavelength only plan. I think is one that we chose to do more than just wavelengths.
Well, being in the data center environment and considering CDN as an in-house service, there's a lot of opportunities there. You certainly need the infrastructure and multiple points of presence, as widely spread as possible. And in an environment where we're kind of used to doing very custom solutions, and being able to extend the services we offer in a way that, by virtue of CDN, become scalable and highly available. It kind of centralizes what could be custom solutions on a sort of per client basis. So while there are complexities, it can also simplify to a great deal. And there are tremendous benefits. And we're not talking about competing or replacing something like Akamai or Amazon, because they, especially for larger content of a certain size, are really, as you say, very entrenched and in a top position. But in terms of delivering content that is critical to just any site visitor, really, kind of can step in and serve up what wouldn't be traditionally categorized as CDN material, and that really extends and improves our services.
Like yourself, sitting at the data center, what we can do is enable that growth, whichever way it comes, be it the telecom, be it the CDN providers, be it some new content author or developer. We provide the real estate infrastructure to make sure they thrive and provide the connectivity for them wherever they want to go with that content or connection. But when you look at it within the landscape of the telecommunication and the CDN, again, I don't think it's so much so a replacement of what the Akamais and them have done. It's more an opening of that market. For instance, over-the-top applications, IPTV, there is an explosive growth in that. There is so much data destination, digital media, and it's requiring different mechanisms for delivering those. And I think for telecom providers, who, like Matt pointed out, their rollout was to augment some of the services that they already provide to make sure the experience is great for the customer. So it's porting that kind of matured CDN technology like the likes of Akamai and them have built, putting it in-house when there is an economies of scale and the cost works well for them in pushing out some of their other services. Let's say if you're Verizon Fios, it might make sense for you to build a CDN network because there is a lot of content that you're pushing to people that are directly attached to your network, and you're able to attract new source or new markets of business by way of media companies, enterprises, and also new forms of authorship. But now with social media and everything, we all content generators. Other people are looking for ways to generate and publish their content and push it out. So if you're already on a network like a telecommunications network that can allow you to do that and ramp up quickly as a small to medium-sized business, there is that market as well. So I think that's one of those drivers for some of those drivers for the telecom operators to consider it strongly and go to market with some form of their own wherein it makes sense, or partner wherein they think they can better leverage somebody like Akamai.